extraterrestrials, as ancient astronaut theorists suggest, then is it possible that the menhirs are meant to reveal how these visitors arrived? For ancient astronaut theorists, the idea of giants descending from the heavens is reminiscent of the stories of another ancient Mediterranean people, the Sumerians. This civilization, which existed at the same time archaeologists believe the menhirs on Sardinia were carved, also wrote of enormous beings who came from the sky, the Anunnaki.
The Anunnaki are the so-called creator gods of ancient Sumeria and Babylon. Our ancestors thought they were these divine, magical beings described as descending from the sky. There's all types of wall reliefs and artifacts and inscriptions which depict the Anunnaki standing amongst the other Sumerian human beings. They're always depicted as larger beings of great stature.
This is intriguing because on the island of Sardinia is a huge, great, truncated pyramid with a long ramp running up towards it. It's made of local stone, and it would seem to look extremely like a ziggurat from ancient Sumeria. So, were the Anunnaki in any way linked with the Giganti legends of the island itself?
Is it possible that a race of colossal beings, known to the Sumerians as the Anunnaki, visited the island of Sardinia in the distant past? And if so, might Sardinia hold evidence that giants not only existed throughout the Mediterranean, but have extraterrestrial origins? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and suggest further evidence can be found by examining ancient walls that still stand in what was once the very heart of the Roman Empire. Ferentino, Italy, June 2019. Ancient astronaut theorist Giorgio Tsoukalos is in the heart of the Italian peninsula, about 50 miles southeast of Rome. This area of Italy, known as Latium, was considered the epicenter of the Roman civilization. Located 300 miles east of Sardinia and 600 miles north of Malta, Ferentino is also connected to stories of giants. Giorgio is eager to investigate the ancient city's massive megalithic walls, considered to be some of the finest constructions in Italy. For expert insight, he is called upon local historian Danila Bracaglia.
Danila?
Giorgio,
Piacere.
welcome to Italy and to Ciociaria.
Thank you. This is beautiful. What can you tell me about this area?
Ferentino, where we are today, is actually known for these constructions of the megalithic walls, founded according to the tradition by god Saturn.
Okay. This is fascinating to me because this is one of the reasons why I'm here. What can you tell me about the mythologies of Saturn in this area here?
So the 5 cities of Saturn are all a few kilometers one from another, and they all start with the letter A. Alatri, Arpino, Anagni, Atina, and Ferentino. The original name was Antigone. The tradition says, the towns were founded by Saturn and the Titans.
In Greek mythology, the Titans were human-like gods of enormous stature, who were eventually overthrown by their children, the Olympians. Saturn is the Roman name for the Titan Cronus, the father of Zeus, and one of the primary gods of ancient Rome, after whom both the planet Saturn and the day Saturday are named. The ancient Romans wrote that Saturn once reigned as an earthly king alongside Janus during a golden age when the gods walked among humans. Could it be that Saturn and the Titans are not merely the product of mythology, but actually existed on Earth and were responsible for helping to construct the megalithic structures found throughout the Mediterranean?
So Danila, where are we right now?
So This is one of the entrance gates to Tutankhamun, and here it's actually a perfect point where you can understand the stratification of the town. You see the huge blocks from the pre-Roman time, then smaller blocks built in the Roman time, and finally the Middle Age on top.
So basically, you can see the megalithic structure, then the Roman, and then medieval.
Exactly, and it's like reading a history book. So it's because here it's evident that people lived here for thousands of years, and then they had different technique of construction. Some of them, like the megalithic constructions, are lost, so we don't know exactly when they were built.
Do you know if all these 5 cities of Saturn have the Cyclopean walls?
Yes, they have these walls, megalithic, so huge stones, and some of them are better preserved than others.
I mean, this is incredible, and this region is not the only place that has these walls. For example, we have them also in Greece. What's even more fascinating is that we have similar walls on the other side of the world in Sacsayhuaman, Peru. So, from completely opposite sides of the planet, we have similar, if not identical, construction styles. According to the ancient astro theory, Saturn was one of the founding gods of civilization on Earth. So the idea that this may have had something to do with an extraterrestrial visit, to me, is fascinating.
Malta, Sardinia, Ferentino. If the Mediterranean really was home to giants, where did they go? Some ancient astronaut theorists believe traces of these giants can still be found on Earth today, hidden within our own DNA. Porto Torres, Sardinia, October 1953. Excavators performing an archaeological dig in what was the Roman Empire's first colony on the island reportedly made an astonishing find.
A place called Porto Torres. In 1953, it's reported that 2 over 8-foot tall skeletons were discovered in that area, with grave goods and bronze furnishings and other such things actually within the tomb itself, suggesting that indeed giants did exist in Sardinia.
Full skeletons of giants had been unearthed in the soils of Sardinia, especially among the Nuragic ruins. I interviewed 2 individuals who worked on the excavation of the Nuragic ruins in the town of Sada, underneath the church of Sant Anastasi. Both of these individuals dug up, at different periods of time, multiple skeletons of giants from 9 to 12 feet tall.
Multiple giant skeletons, 9 to 12 feet tall. Curiously, this is the same length of many of the so-called giants' tombs found all over Sardinia. But if such massive bones have indeed been discovered, what happened to them? Some researchers believe these findings have been deliberately covered up.
We hear these stories, but we don't have any evidence that it's all been taken away. For example, another account from the 1950s, there was a gentleman who actually witnessed bones being dug up on his farm when he was a child. And people in large black cars arrived, official-looking people, and took the bones away in the middle of the night.
When it comes to the alleged discovery of giant skeletons, does the fact that the bones have gone missing suggest a cover-up or a hoax? While skeptics say that many of these stories come from dubious sources, there is at least one discovery that was documented by one of the oldest universities in the world. In 1892, it was reported that scientists at the University of Montpellier in France studied bones that had been excavated on France's Mediterranean coast and found that they belonged to a human who stood over 11 feet tall.
So there have been numerous reports of giant bones, teeth, skulls. The lack of physical evidence is quite frustrating, but I'm sure it will come out.
But if reports of giant skeletons are true, were these enormous beings human or something else? Ancient theorists suggest the answer may be hidden within our own DNA. Copenhagen, Denmark, 2020. A team of geneticists studying an ancient hominin called Homo antecessor made a groundbreaking discovery. This species was a close relative of the last common ancestor to humans and hominins, Neanderthals and Denisovans. It is just the latest in a series of incredible discoveries that have revealed humans not only shared the Earth with at least 8 other human-like species, but even mated and produced offspring with them.
For quite a long period of time, many of us, myself included, thought that humans and other hominins, particularly Neanderthals, didn't interbreed. After 2010, when the technology allowed us to sequence the entire genomes of several Neanderthals species and modern humans, we began to see traces of a little bit of Neanderthal mixture. We see traces of Neanderthal ancestry in Europe, and we see it in Asia, as well as in the Americas, amongst Native Americans.
Mysteriously, scientists have found one hominid is represented in human DNA that has not yet been identified. But ancient astronaut theorists believe clues as to what other ancestors might exist within the human genome can be found in the Bible's Book of Genesis.
In the book of Genesis, it says that the sons of God came into the daughters of men. They created a hybrid offspring who were called the Nephilim, or the fallen ones. They were giants, or the mighty ones. Some believe they were between 8 and 15 feet tall. This is handed down not only in the Bible, it is also in Sumerian languages that some of the gods had sex with humans and the offsprings were giants. Mythology is full of giants, and we have to look at these old myths with modern languages, change the word of angel into extraterrestrial. In the beginning of time, extraterrestrials had sex with humans, and the product of this sexual contact were giants.
Is it possible that as geneticists continue to decode the human genome, they will find that among our various hominid ancestors is a missing link to enormous beings from another world?
Ancient DNA is perhaps, for me, the most important area of study in all my work. Because there is the potential chance here that we can find direct evidence of the ancestors of modern humans. I suspect we'll find lineages of a race of giants.
Could it be that just like some humans have traces of Neanderthal DNA, there could still be similar traces of alien human giants that scientists have yet to discover? Ancient astronaut theorists believe the answer is a profound yes, and suggest further insights could be revealed in early Judaic texts, which give a curious description of the world's first man, otherwise known as Adam. The Book of Genesis, Chapter 6, placed just after the story of creation and the generations of Adam and Eve. This section of the Hebrew Bible contains a curious passage.
There is a very interesting teaching in older Kabbalistic traditions that dates back to temple times. Legend states that Adam was, by our definition, a giant. That the original Adamic race was not of the same physical stature as we human beings are today. Some claim that the original Adamic race were giants. Is this a legend of symbolism, or is there something actual to it?
human beings, it's still put on the shoulders of Darwinistic views. So anything that steps outside of those viewpoints is usually greatly challenged. Mainstream science has had a very hard time wrapping their head around the idea that there could have been a lost race, part extraterrestrial, part human.
In mythology, the giants were a fact, they did exist. What we are missing are the bones of giants. From time to time, anthropologists found some big bones, but then other anthropologists contradicted it. But definitely giants did exist in the past, and they were the result of a mixture between extraterrestrials and humans.
Two incredible megalithic structures, curious religious traditions repeated in culture after culture, and reports of enormous human remains represent the remnants of a lost civilization of giants. And if so, could these enormous beings have actually had a hand in the creation of humankind? Perhaps one day soon, conclusive evidence of the link between humans and giants will finally come to light. And we will discover that within the mythological tales of our ancestors lies the true history of the human race. An extraordinary story of an otherworldly encounter.
It is an eyewitness account. He was taken up and sees planet Earth underneath him. He is given powerful, universal knowledge by angelic beings. These angels were not spiritual beings, they were physical beings whose role it is to direct the affairs of humanity.
It is an account that was strictly forbidden.
These texts were deemed too dangerous.
And now, new technology may reveal even more shocking revelations.
We are recovering burned texts, which there it is. Look at this. This is sensational.
Could the Book of Enoch contain profound truths about our extraterrestrial past? And might it even hold the key to humanity's future?
Enoch knew that all these writings would be found in the far future, and Enoch said, I will return to this planet.
There is a doorway in the universe. Beyond it is the promise of truth. It demands we question everything we have ever been taught. The evidence is all around us. The future is right before our eyes. We are not alone. We have never been alone. There's the Great Islands, Ethiopia. Here, 7,000 feet above sea level, and clinging to the side of a mountain, stands the Aga Garima Monastery. This church is home to one of Christianity's most ancient and spectacular treasures, the Garima Gospels. Consisting of two beautifully illustrated volumes, it has been dated to the 6th century AD, making it one of the oldest and most complete Bibles on earth.
There is the very earliest Christian churches in Ethiopia. So there is this strong connection to the ancient roots of Western civilization, Western religion in Ethiopia.
Ethiopia's biblical connections date back nearly 3,000 years. In the 10th century BC, King Solomon, the builder of the first temple in Jerusalem and the keeper of the Ark of the Covenant, was visited by Queen Makeda of Ethiopia, also known as the Queen of Sheba.
The Queen of Sheba, it is said, had a relationship with Solomon and had a son. When he came of age, he wanted to meet his father and his mother, to meet Solomon. And he stayed for some time, and then some leaders of the Jewish nation went back with him to Ethiopia. Because of this connection between the Queen of Sheba and Solomon, there's a large Jewish population in Ethiopia. There are many returnees to the Holy Land, to Israel, from Ethiopia and other nearby areas in Africa. Ethiopia is an unusually holy place.
Curiously, the Bible used by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church differs from that of other Christian denominations. Its version of the Old Testament includes a controversial text known as the Book of Enoch.
The Book of Enoch, a very, very interesting, very ancient document, which is only found in the language of Ge'ez, which is a sort of Ethiopian early language, and has over 100 chapters in the full form.
So in the Ethiopian church, Enoch is considered a canonical text. In other Christian traditions, it is not.
The author of the book, according to the text, is the Jewish patriarch Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah.
Enoch is a biblical figure mentioned in the book of Genesis, chapter 5. What's interesting about Enoch is a tradition arose that he never died. And this is because in Genesis 5:24, the text says that Enoch walked with God and then was no more because God took him.
But where the Hebrew Bible only mentions Enoch briefly, the Book of Enoch, which consists of more than 100 chapters, greatly expands on the story. In it is a curious passage that details Enoch's ascent to heaven.
According to the book of Enoch, he says he was 12 years old. The whole community of his village wanted to sleep, but then they hear the noise in the sky. Two angels came down from the sky. One of the two beings said to Enoch, "Don't be afraid, human." Then they went up to the so-called heaven.
And in the book of Enoch, we learn of Enoch himself is taken into the heavens in a fiery chariot.
Enoch goes up to the so-called sky, and there Enoch sees something over the earth which he cannot describe. It has no word like spaceship or something. He said it looked like houses of crystal.
It is described that he sees planet Earth underneath him. He actually describes his arrival, how he has to walk through these different rooms where he sees jewels and he sees shiny surfaces and blinking lights. It is an eyewitness account. It's I, Enoch, did this. I, Enoch, saw that. The Book of Enoch is one of the first abduction accounts written down by a fellow human being.
Does the Book of Enoch really describe an actual abduction event? One that took place thousands of years ago? And if so, might this incredible close encounter be documenting communication with otherworldly beings?
Enoch, he was said to be at the right hand of God. In fact, Enoch was said to be God's scribe in later tradition. So God would decree things, and Enoch was the one that recorded everything that went on. So Enoch was the keeper of all knowledge of heaven.
This is one of the reasons why the Book of Enoch is so controversial. He's taken up into the heavenly realms, to the throne of God, where he is given powerful, universal knowledge by angelic beings or extraterrestrial beings.
As far as ancient astronaut theorists are concerned, the Book of Enoch is one of the most compelling texts ever written documenting extraterrestrial visitation. But it is far from unique. They say that similar encounters were documented by many other ancient cultures, lending support to the notion that Enoch's experiences were genuine.
We can find ancient texts that speak of people ascending to heaven and then coming back down. For example, in ancient Greece, you have the story of Ganymede.